hippo who learns to overcome being different through an ecstatic dance experience. Sometimes life is sweet, and sometimes life stings. It's up to you to decide. What are you willing to be? Asks the honeybee. The firefly reminds us that only you can shine your light. The butterfly speaks of the wonder of transformation, while the moon helps the hippo feel a confident glow. Find out what happens in a hippo dance trance. This beautifully illustrated book presents expressive artwork through gender-neutral characters that deliver messages about being yourself, perspective, and personal transformation. Order today at brighthawkproductions.com.
What are you willing to be? I am willing to be delightfully surprised by how sweet this life can be. I am willing to be delightfully surprised by how sweet this life can be.
Well, that's fun. That's my ebook. I'm super excited about the ebook because, well, it's got me telling my story, the dancing hippo, and it's got all kinds of sound effects and songs and videos that make you feel like you're really in it, which is super fun. It's so much fun to share. And I hope you will take advantage of going to brighthawkproductions.com to order from me, the Dancing Hippo, and you'll get your free ebook with your order. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to spend a little time doing a story time. I haven't done one in so long that it's good to be offering it up again. And today we celebrate Irish ancestry. And since 40 million of us can trace our roots back to Ireland, I thought it would be fun to share some stories, some of my history, and some classics from Irish folklore. They have a huge pantheon of stories and folk tales and myths. And sharing some of my music. If you haven't experienced my music before, this flying saucer spaceship looking thing, it's called a steel handpan. This one happens to be a hong. A hong is the first generation of handpans that came out, and this one is a first generation hong pan art. Our vehicle for the night, my flying carpet ride. And if you're here watching this live, it would be super awesome to know you're here because it's super weird doing these broadcasts and never really knowing if they're landing and who they're landing with. So do please say hi. You could just use your first name, where you're from maybe, and we'll incorporate comments at some point. It's good to know that of all the things you can do, that you're doing this right now. This first piece is This first piece is I composed for my oldest sister, Teresa. One of the very first songs I composed on the handpan. And I used to play at her bedside on her journey home. Well, our first story. Are you ready? Do you know what time it is? I believe it is story time. This first story is a classic. A classic from the land of Ireland. Now, in the land of Ireland, in County Limerick, there was a fella named Paddy Ahern. Now, Paddy Ahern was known throughout the county for helping out with all the different odd jobs, plowing, planting, whatever needed to be done. Paddy Ahern would travel around the county and try to be helpful, try to be of service. But there came a time when nobody wanted to hire Paddy Ahern. No one wanted to have this man working on their farm. Because the other thing the soul needs, besides good work, is a story, a bit of music, a bit of poetry. And everyone around the county, anyone that had Paddy Ahern working on their land, knew that when it came to dinner time, when it came to sharing a bit of the news of the day, sharing a song, a story, a riddle, anything. Paddy Ahern, every time they would turn to Paddy Ahern, had nothing. The man was as dull as dishwasher water and as dumb as a post. It was just so known around that nobody wanted to feed the man. And so time was getting on, and Paddy Ahern is walking down a field and a road, and there's fields on either side. And Paddy Ahern notices it's starting to get dark, and they've not quite been down this road before, and they're very keen to see if there's somewhere to get a meal and sleep in the barn and nothing else. And then spots off in the distance a bit of a candlelight. In a weird bit of a house. It's an odd looking house. So Paddy Ahern makes the way across the field to the house and knocks. And the door opens. And there stands a sort of odd looking man looking down and says, "Why, come in, Paddy Ahern. There's food on the table." And Paddy Ahern thinks, "I've never been here before. How do they know my name?" But sits at the table, happily eats the lamb stew they've been given. They're told, "Off you go to your bed, right over there." And there's a cot made up. So Paddy Ahern gets himself ready for sleep. And pretty soon is off to sleep. And suddenly, there is a great bunch of noise. And the door opens, and a bunch of men come in. 3 men. Not only do they come in carrying a giant box, a coffin. And the 3 look at each other, and the one says to the other 2, "Well, who be helping carry this coffin?" And the 2 says to the other one, "Well, who but Paddy Ahern?" And Paddy Ahern looks up and rubs his eyes and thinks, "What is this?" But obediently, quickly gets dressed, takes a spot, the fourth spot at the end of the coffin, and they begin to walk. The four of them begin to walk across a field, across the marsh, crossing, and Paddy Ahern, and the whole time is getting berated, accused, criticized, humiliated. He's dirty. They get to a graveyard with a great wall around it. And the one says to the other two, "Well, who is going to get the coffin over the wall to the graveyard?" And the two say, "Well, who but Paddy Ahern?" And Paddy Ahern struggles in with all his might, pushes the coffin up over the wall. And then the four of them are in the graveyard. And the one says to the other two, "Well, who's gonna dig the hole?" And the two say, "Well, who but Paddy Ahern?" And so they throw a shovel. Paddy Ahern just, oh my God, starts to shovel. Can't believe this is happening. Is again being hurled insults, told to work faster, don't stop. It starts raining. Paddy's just working away. And finally, the hole is big enough. And Paddy Ahern gets out of the hole. And the one says to the other two, "Well, who be getting in the coffin?" And the other two say, "Well, who but Paddy Ahern?" And Paddy Ahern begins to open the lid, and there's nothing in it. And the two say, "Well, who but Paddy Ahern get in the coffin?" And Paddy Ahern has had enough and begins to run like ghosts are chasing him up over the wall, across the field, across the marsh, back to the farmhouse. Arrives, starts yelling before he arrives, lands, passes out at the foot of the farmer on the stoop. The next morning, when Paddy Ahern wakes, they're in the bed. The bed is perfect, comfortable, and clean. Paddy Ahern is clean. The farmer looks over to Paddy Ahern and says, "Oh, Paddy, I see you're up. Did you have a nice sleep? Did you dream well?" "Did I dream well? Oh my goodness, have I never had such a worse night in my life?" And Paddy Ahern begins to rapidly put on their clothes, which mysteriously are clean, and there is no sign of the last night's adventures. Paddy Ahern can't believe what the farmer has said. And the farmer says, "Oh, Paddy, don't be in such a hurry." And Paddy says, "Well, I've never been so." And the farmer interrupts and says, "Ah, but now, Paddy, at least you have a story to tell. Off with you." And with that, Paddy Ahern was off. A story, let it come and let it go. So you best have a story, right? You just might never know what's happening to you. So every now and again, I'm asked about how I became a storyteller, and there's always a little voice in my head that says, "Well, you came by it honestly." And definitely the Irish side of the family is my father, who was a very good storyteller, who had sparkly blue eyes. Well, this next story is the showcase story. It's one of my stories. And since you know the dancing hippo is one of my stories, this will be the next one that gets published. I'm certain of it. Well, a story, let it come and let it go. Now, this is the story of once upon a time, a long time ago, in the land of Ireland. That's right, the Emerald Isle. On the Emerald Isle, well, there was a mother and a child that lived on a farm, a beautiful farm, a sweet farm. It was a little farm, and they grew the most wondrous herbs. And all the healers delighted in everything they grew, and even the chefs, too. Well, the mother did the best they could, raising the child all alone, to instill good values, to make sure that you say thank you, and, well, to give gratitude for all the beautiful things that come from the good green earth. And, of course, to honor the ways of the little people, the fairies. The child was Sean O'Sullivan. And Sean O'Sullivan had arrived at the age of wanting more. You know the age of wanting more. Wanting just a wee bit more of this and a wee bit more of that. Believing somebody else's grass is just a wee bit greener. And if you had just a little bit more, it would be just a little bit easier. Yes, Sean O'Sullivan had arrived at the age of wanting more. Now, Sean O'Sullivan and their mum were known for their special deliveries of herbs, and it was one of these special deliveries to the local healer that Sean O'Sullivan was now engaged in. And as he arrived at the edge of the village at Bridie's cottage, Bridie welcomed in Sean O'Sullivan, and they sat down for a cup of tea. Now, this time, instead of giving the news of the day or what was in bloom or telling a story about the neighbor's pig getting out, no, Sean O'Sullivan exclusively spoke to Bridie about more. Wouldn't it be great to have more? Wouldn't it be lovely to have more? More of this and more of that. And the more this conversation, the more Bridie looked back and said to Sean O'Sullivan, not sure what you'd be wanting more for. Happiness and satisfaction, gratitude, these things come from inside, and I think you'd be losing track of that. Now, let's see the basket of herbs you brought. Oh, wonderful. I see the lavender. Thank you so much. Oh, and the dandelion. That'll come in very handy. Oh, but I don't see the galangal. I specifically mentioned to your mom that I needed some galangal, and I don't see any in the basket. Now, the galangal flowers is a rare flower, and it grows a half day's journey from the village. Oh, well. And knowing what would motivate him, Bridie pulls out a bag of corn and says, I'll make it worth your while," and puts it on the table. And John O'Sullivan perks up and says, "Well, in that case, tell me, Mum, where I've gone." And off like a shot, Sean O'Sullivan heads to the hills where the galangal flower grows. And pretty soon they arrive, and quickly they take off their harvest sack and gather up one bunch of flowers, two bunches, three bunches, never asking, never thinking, never saying thank you, a fourth bunch, and a fifth bunch. A bunch too many. John O'Sullivan doesn't think anything of it, shoves it all in their harvest stack and off like a shot, hoping to get back before the day is done. They're making good time, and Sean O'Sullivan's feeling pretty good about themselves, and so they decide to stop at a big, beautiful oak tree, have a wee bit of a snack, munch on an apple, and before you know it, Sean O'Sullivan has dozed off and is daydreaming about gold and more, and wouldn't it be nice, and I could get my mum this and that. And then the dream turns dark, and Sean O'Sullivan sees the farm with nothing growing on it, sees their mum by the fire, and nothing's in the fireplace. Suddenly they wake up with a start and take a deep breath of cool evening air, and they look out and they hear tink, tink, tink. What's that? There seems to be a little hammering sound. And so Sean O'Sullivan steps up, looks around. There's a bush at the base of the oak tree, looks around the edge of the bush, and there, on the other side of the bush, would you believe, is a leprechaun! A leprechaun in a hat, beautiful boots, a little stocking, a little vest. And the leprechaun does not look happy. The leprechaun's concentrating on their work, hammering away at a wee bit of a boot that's just for a little fairy. And all the time muttering to themselves, saying, "Those humans, those greedy humans, every time they shake me down for me gold. I warn them, I tell them. You are fascinated by this yellow object, but you don't realize what it'll do to you." Every time, same story. And then, as if talking to the air, the leprechaun says, "Why you be always wanting more?" And just then, the leprechaun looks up over the bush and locks eyes with Sean O'Sullivan. And Sean O'Sullivan looks at the leprechaun and says, "Because more is better," as if stating the obvious. "Oh, not another one." And the leprechaun, frustrated with all humans, pulls out their pockets, shows that they're empty, and says, "I got nothing for you. I've been shaken down for my gold yesterday, and I've got nothing. Why do you always be wanting more?" And then the leprechaun looks at Sean O'Sullivan and says, "You." And Sean O'Sullivan feels seen and known through and through. They sink down and sit on a root of the oak tree. And they suddenly think about the slope of the galangal flower. And Sean O'Sullivan looks at the leprechaun and says, "I'm sorry." And the leprechaun says, "Why did you have to take so much? If you don't leave some, you'll never get more." And Sean O'Sullivan said, I'm so sorry. More always seemed better to me. But is what I saw in my dream, is that what's going to happen?" The leprechaun shakes their head. "Well, Sean O'Sullivan, you haven't done right. You haven't done right by the fairies, and they're not going to take kindly to you." And Sean O'Sullivan says, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Please, I'm sorry. Well, says the leprechaun, I'll be someone who actually apologizes. And you want to do something. Well, how are you going to do right by the fairies? I don't see you have a flute or a harp. How are you going to charm them? Well, I can whistle. Sean O'Sullivan volunteers. Well, you're going to have to whistle for your life, said the leprechaun. If I'm going to help you, you're going to have to make some agreements, some promises. Do you think you can make them? And Sean O'Sullivan said, oh, yes, I'll do anything. All right. Well, the first one is about a secret. You must never be seen. You see these boots? These boots are for the fairy leading the dance tonight. When they come and pick them up, never be seen. Follow them back to the fairy mound. And when you get there, stay hidden. And you must not be enchanted by their music. You must learn their music. And when the time arrives, you will know. Now, you're going to have to do your best you can. And I can't help you from there. And so Sean O'Sullivan agrees. And so they follow. They follow the fairy back to the fairy mound, staying hidden, doing their best not to come under the fairy's spell. And the music begins. And the dance goes on and on. They're having such a great time. And Sean O'Sullivan is memorizing. And kind of abruptly in the middle of the night, the fairy providing the music says, I'm tired. I don't want to play anymore. And all the fairies protest, no, we want to keep dancing. Sean O'Sullivan stays hidden in the bush. The fairies continue to dance and laugh and have a great time. And when the stars begin to disappear and the sky begins to change colors and the twinkle of morning dew in the grass, all the fairies collapse happily and the dance is done. And the queen is the first to speak. Who learned our fairy song? That was quite lovely. Sean O'Sullivan sneaks out, bowing low from under the bush, and says, it was me. I'm glad it pleased thee. And the queen suddenly looks over Sean O'Sullivan again, instantly knowing all, and says, you. Oh dear. With a snap of the fingers, all the fairies gather in a council, flying in a circle, telepathically speaking to each other and deciding what to do with Sean O'Sullivan. And Sean O'Sullivan is, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. In a few moments, all of the fairies arrive back on the ground. And the queen speaks first. Sean O'Sullivan, we have decided what to do with you. If you are truly repentant and sorry for what you have done and are willing to make some changes, some promises, well, do you think you can make some promises? Oh, yes. I'm very sorry. I promise to do whatever you tell me. Very well, Sean O'Sullivan. And with that, she snaps her fingers and two fairies arrive, and they are holding an empty basket. Surrender your harvest sack. Sean O'Sullivan gives the sack, and they pull out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bunches of galangal flowers. And the fairies distribute them into the basket. And then they put some galangal flowers back in the harvest sack. And they hand the sack back. And they say, for the healers. And John O'Sullivan says, very well, for the healer. Thank you. Then, with another snap of the fingers, the fairies who have the galangal flowers take them back to the slopes from where they come so they can be replanted and restored. And 2 more fairies arrive. And these 2 fairies, they arrive with a bundle. They're holding a beautiful, golden, silky bundle. And they hand the bundle to Sean O'Sullivan with the following instructions. Sean O'Sullivan, this is a gift. And you must never, ever reveal where it came from. You must never pick from it. You must secretly plant it in your garden. And when the saffron plant decides that it will give you what it wishes to give you, it will make an offering. You must never take from this plant. Do you think you can do this? Keep this plant and honor it? Yes. Yes, I will honor the saffron. I will plant it and take very good care of it, says Sean O'Sullivan. Very well. And this third promise you must make. Yes, says Sean O'Sullivan. Whenever you go out to pick, to harvest, to bring back, you must always first make an offering. Sing the plants a song. Say thank you. Do anything that acknowledges this is a gift. And the only way for gifts to keep giving is for us to honor the energy of the gift. Sean O'Sullivan said, definitely, definitely. You promise to teach everyone you know this habit of saying thank you to all living things. Yes, said Sean O'Sullivan. Very well. And with that, they were off like a shot, back to their village and Bridie's cottage. And when they arrived at Bridie's cottage, they turned down the tea Bridie was offering and presented the galangal flowers to Bridie. And Bridie said, well, very well, thank you very much. And here, and offered the coin to Sean O'Sullivan. And Sean O'Sullivan said, thank you very much, Bridie. Headed off into the marketplace, into the center of the village, and looked around the town square, looking, knowing exactly what they were looking for. And suddenly they saw. And they went over, because there was always this old man that was a beggar at the edge of the square. And so Sean O'Sullivan went over to the old man, putting a very gentle shoulder on the old man's putting their hand on the old man's shoulder, and put the bag of coin in the old man's hand and said, may you never be wanting for more. And with that, Sean O'Sullivan returned to their farm that was green and beautiful, to see their dog and their mom sitting by the fire. And Sean O'Sullivan let out a grateful sigh. Grateful to be home with the ones that they loved. Never to be wanting for more. A story, a story. Let it come and let it go. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so for all my herbalist friends out there, I hope you enjoyed the story. Feel free to say hi. And yeah, I appreciate all of our herbalist friends, all of our farmer friends, all the bounty that we receive from the good green earth. Isn't it an amazing thing? So, my friends, now the part of the story that's my story. In 2008, I went to Ireland with 8 of my Irish cousins. We were all women, and we explored the Rings of Kerry, 3 peninsulas in County Cork of Ireland. And every day was a different adventure, I must say. One day we were in a little town called Inch, little seaside town. And we come up to this building called Hannah Hennefan's Pub. It's a big oak building, very old, white with red trim. And all of us go in and it's, it's late afternoon. And of course we order up a round of pints. And one of my cousins, she works for the California FBI. She kind of disappears for a couple of minutes. And then she comes back. We're about halfway through a pint. And she says, I found them. Found who? I didn't know we were looking for anyone. What's up? She says, I found the family. You found our family? Yes, our cousins. Seriously? Yes. And they've invited us over for tea. Drink up. We're expected in 20 minutes. Can you imagine somebody calling you out of the blue, 8 of them, and you say, come on over for tea? Are you serious? Yes. So we finish up our pints, we pile in the cars, we drive through the rain, we arrive at the cousin's cottage, and in we go. And my Aunt Jane says, right, I'll get that thing you play. So as I start to set up and play music, the 2 matriarchs of our families, my Aunt Jane, they start poring over photo albums and talking over tea about how we are related. And while I'm playing music, the littlest one in their group, a little lad named Owen was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. He starts doing a little jig while I play, which was so cute because there's nothing cuter than children dancing. We love it. And after a little bit, Aunt Jane says, I think I figured it out. How we are all related. Your grandmothers were sisters. Here's the side of the family that stayed in Ireland. And obviously, we were the side of the family that made it to San Francisco. All because of a wonderful person named Bridie Hannafin. Bridie Hannafin left Ireland in 1887. 1887. She got on a ship by herself as a teenager in steerage for $10. And of course, they went all the way from Ireland to New York and then on a ship around through the Panama Canal to San Francisco. And there she met John Crowley, got married, had a bunch of kids that became my ancestors, my great-grandparents. And the interesting thing is that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's true. My great-great-grandmother, Bridie, she ran a boarding house. And I run an Airbnb. Not that different. Appropriate to our times. So there's the Crowley side of my family, and then there's the Hines side of my family. And one day we went to explore a castle. Our castle. The Hines family had a castle named Castle Dungair. Castle Dungair near Galway. So, of course, we had to go explore it. If somebody tells you have a castle in the family, hello. Yeah, let's go explore. So we get there. We get to Castle Dungair, And we find out that the Hineses, well, we didn't exactly own the castle. We were responsible for building it. Our clan was the labor. Now, Castle Dunguer was built in the 15th century. And I tell you this story because it is a fantastic example of Irish hospitality. Just like the last tea story with my cousins. They say King Good was kind and generous. Well, how do we know? Well, one day in the 15th century, there was a knock at the castle gate. And they opened the door, and there were the musicians. And the musicians said, "Hey, we're here to play." And they looked around and they said, "Wow, how many of there are you?" "Oh, 150, my lord." 150? Well, welcome one, welcome all. And the party began. And everyone from all around enjoyed King Gur's hospitality, and the party went on through the night. They had such a good time. In fact, it went on into the next day and the next week and into the next month. Okay, I'm going to tell you how long this party went on for. A year and a half. A year and a half, that's right. Because my people know how to have a good time. I hope you're having a good time right now. A story, a story. Let it come and let it go. All right. Thank you. Oh, that was fun. So, I'm just going to take a minute here and talk about the day. You've noticed I've called it Let's Celebrate Irish Ancestry, not St. Patrick's Day. Why is that? Well, St. Patrick was not Irish. And for those of you who know the story, you know that there are no snakes in Ireland. So chasing the snakes from Ireland is actually about as useful as chasing the giraffes from Alaska. Because there's so many. So there's that myth that just, and really, because I'm not into putting people on pedestals. And I feel like the more you learn about certain holidays, especially things like Christopher Columbus, the less you kind of want to have anything to do with these folks. And the history of St. Patrick is this: the snakes were a metaphor for chasing out the Celts. St. Patrick is given credit for bringing Christianity. He wasn't the one who brought it first. He was the one who popularized it most in that time, which was the 400s. And at that time, Christianity was associated with civilizing folks. So if you made everybody a Christian, you had civilized folks. Well, we know that there's a lot of a lot to be learned by history and how indigenous people have been treated. And so I try to honor that. And so I think everybody's ancestry should be celebrated. And, we are a country of immigrants, plain and simple. So let's celebrate everyone's ancestry and celebrate that we are one race, that is the human race. Let's elevate it. Let's celebrate the best of us, not the worst of us. So that's why. So this next song is called the Love Song. It's one that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. The World Peace Game. Because right now, we are experiencing a war. We are all connected to everyone else on the planet. So if there's war in Ukraine, we can all, by God, I'm sure we're all feeling it. And the thing I realized today about ancestry that's kind of tricky is that if you go back far enough, we're all connected. The thing that's tricky is that when I go back, I see I'm on both sides of the equation of the perpetrators and the perpetrated, of the oppressed and the oppressor, on both sides of my family. And the truth is, we probably all are. We probably all have ancestors that we can feel proud of and some that we don't talk about. We probably all have moments that we are proud of in our lives and other moments we just, rather forget. So, let's breathe in with love and compassion for all beings. Here we go. Blessings to all beings. May all beings know peace. Blessings to all beings. May all beings know love. Healthiness and joy. Compassion and love. Healthiness and joy. Compassion and love. Here we go. Love, love, love. We can spread it around the world. Love, love, love. I hope you feel my love, love, love. Love, love, love. We each have our own world, our own bubble. My bubble, my bubble, my bubble is filled with love and light. Your bubble, your bubble, your bubble, it's filled with love and light. Our bubble, our bubble, our bubble, it's filled with love and light. It's filled with love and light. All together now. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I hope you feel my love, love, love. Love, love, love. We each have our own world, our own bubble. We each have our own world, and we can make world peace together by sending out our love, 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 love. Just send out your love to your world, to your world. All together now, here we go. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. It's what we got for each other. Love, love, love. Blessings to all beings. May all beings know peace. Blessings to all beings. May all beings know love. Healthiness and joy. Compassion and love. Healthiness and joy, compassion and love, compassion and love. I got a lot of love for you folks out there. I hope you are doing well. I hope you feel my love, and that with all of us sending love out to the world, well, we can make world peace a reality. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I hope you feel our love, love, love. Love, love, love. All beings know peace. Thank you. That was fun. So, my friends, before we wrap it up, just like the fairies asked, the perfect way to wrap it up is with gratitude. Please hear me say thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. Thanks for ordering books. And if you want to put anything in the tip jar, well, we're always super grateful. You can always do that at PayPal or Venmo, brighthawkproductions.com. Super grateful. Please hear me say thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for what you've been through. Thank you. Please hear me say thank you. Thank you for likes. Thanks for comments. Thanks for subscribing to my YouTube channel. It all makes a difference. I'm deeply grateful. Thank you for being you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for what you've been through. Thank you. We wish you all the very, very best. It's been a pleasure. I'm Bright Hawk, but you probably knew that. And you are fabulous. Thank you for being you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for what you've been through. Thank you. Mwah. Be well.
Umbertha, shine your light. The hippo recalled the feeling of dancing in the moonlight, the lightness, the brightness, the glow. The hippo knew the feeling was real. Up until now, Mbu wondered if it had happened at all. Was it the rhythm, the moon, or the dance that made that evening feel so special? Maybe all of it made a difference. In the deep dark of night, Mbu Katamba slipped back into the water, thinking about the firefly, the moon, and shining their light. When the hippo finally drifted off to sleep, they had dreams of glittering sparkles and twinkling moonlight. Umbu dreamed about the hippo dance trance and remembered how the dance trance illuminated their entire being, radiating light from inside out, flowing like the Sabuti River itself.
And the firefly said, shine your light, shine your light, shine your light, shine your light. Only you can shine your light. Shine your light, shine your light, shine your light, shine your light. Only you can shine your light.
There are very few things that give me more pleasure than playing drums, especially with community, especially around the fire circle. And after 30 years of studying, playing, and performing West African music, it is my pleasure to share with you online drumming classes. Let's get together online, learn traditional West African rhythms. They are repeatable, and it will ignite your soul. We provide a safe, exciting, comfortable environment to learn at your own pace and improve with support. Affordable monthly group classes or private lessons. Sign up at brighthawkproductions.com. I look forward to seeing you.